Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham has been leading the effort to find out more about what happened the night of September 11th in Libya. He joins us now here on set. Senator Graham, welcome.
Thank you.
There seem to be a lot of things that you're still trying to find the answer to. The president today said in a Google Hangout that there are, and I'm not quoting here, but he said it seems they're running out of questions to ask, paraphrasing what he said. Your response to that on this?
I've destroyed a small forest trying to get the president to account for his leadership and the knowledge about Benghazi, and I've gotten one question answered. I've probably sent 30. Here's a good question. The man released in Tunisia, do you think we had anything on him or not? Because the reason I intervened to set up the FBI interviews is I was told by our FBI that this is a leading suspect in the attack on the consulate. Why did I have to do that? Mr. President, why didn't you call the Tunisian government? Mr. President, when the British ambassador was attacked in June of this year and they decided to close their consulate, did you know about it, and why did we keep ours open? We're just scratching the surface of questions. This White House is stonewalled, delayed, and denied, so nothing could be further from the truth about us not running out of questions. What is true is he won't answer any.
You did have some answers.
Got one.
And what was that?
I asked him, did you ever pick up the phone to call a Libyan official on September the 11th during the attack? And he said, after a 2-page letter from his lawyer, no. The president only called Libyan government officials the next day, the night of 12th September, after they were dead. And the point is that the rescue team was held up at the Benghazi airport for 3.5 hours trying to get to the annex to help these people. And I've always believed if the president had picked up the phone, there's no voice in the world like that of the president of the United States that could have made a difference. He never called anybody in Libya. He never talked to his Secretary of Defense. Other than a 15-minute initial assessment. He didn't talk to Brennan. He didn't talk to Jack Lew. He didn't talk to Dempsey and Panetta during the evening. He never called and said, how are we doing? How close are we to getting aid there? As far as I can tell, he was completely disengaged. And when he turned to Romney in the third debate and basically say, I send these people in harm's way, I know their families, he was letting us all believe he was hands-on, and quite frankly, it seems to me that he was incredibly detached.
You know what, I want to listen to exactly what the president said today on this topic regarding Benghazi. Let's take a listen.
This is the most transparent administration in history. There are a handful of issues, mostly around national security, where people have legitimate questions, where they're still concerned about whether or not we have all the information we need. Benghazi, by the way, is not a good example of that. That was largely driven by campaign stuff, because everything about that, we've had more testimony and more paper provided to Congress than ever before, and Congress is sort of running out of things to ask.
And I do want to play again Hillary Clinton from her testimony, and we've heard this before, but just listen again. I want you to react to it.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again.
So when you sit here and you listen to folks and they say, why is this important, Senator? Why are you doing this? Why is it important today? Why are you holding up this nomination and potentially Brennan's nomination? Why?
Well, I hope the next president, when there's an attack on a consulate or a foreign emergency, national security incident, that they will pick up the phone, because they remember what happened when Obama didn't. And Senator Obama and Senator Clinton had no problem trying to figure out how we failed in Iraq. Did it matter to go back and investigate the Bush administration's interrogation techniques? I think it did, and I joined them. Did it matter to question our policy in Iraq after it was failing? The point to me is you got 4 dead Americans, you got a commander-in-chief who is absolutely disengaged, you got the Secretary of State never talking to the Secretary of Defense, you've got ample evidence of a national security nightmare in the making, you got the Secretary of State not knowing her own ambassador was sending cables to her department saying we can't defend the consulate in case of a coordinated attack. In August, the Secretary of Defense knew about it, Secretary of State didn't. How could that be? And who changed the talking points? How could the President of the United States go to the American people for 3 weeks along with Susan Rice 5 days after the attack and say, we believe there's no evidence of a coordinated pre-planned terrorist attack, when your Secretary of Defense testified before the Congress they knew that night? I think they manipulated the intelligence and evidence close to an election to create the narrative that bin Laden was dead, Al-Qaeda is dismantled, we're all safe. I think what Susan Rice said and what the President said about this being a video that created a spontaneous event that led to a riot and Al-Qaeda wasn't involved was a misleading effort by this administration, and it matters when the top government officials in this country responsible for national security mislead you.
Have you heard about any survivors and telling their story?
Well,
do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know who they are. In the FBI interviews 2 days after the attack in Germany, we still, as a Congress, do not have the FBI interviews. The best evidence of what happened that night were the survivors. They will not give the United States Congress the FBI interviews of the survivors. We've been told 5 different versions of who changed the talking points. This is not transparent. They're delaying, they're denying, they're deceiving. They ran out the clock during the election. I will not give up until we know what happened. And at the end of the day, it's about 4 dead Americans. And the way this president handled this situation, his national security team, is a travesty, and we need to get to the bottom of it, and we will.
Will Chuck Hagel get approved?
Unless there's a bombshell, he'll get an up or down vote. I hope one Democrat will look at Chuck Hagel's records and some of the outrageous statements he's made about the state of Israel and reconsider, and have one Democrat vote no. If you could find one Democrat who'd vote no, the floodgates would open, but I don't know.
Okay. Senator, thanks. We'll continue to follow it.
Thank you.